I once knelt in the ashes of my own betrayal, the weight of despair pressing down like a stone. Redemption, I learned, is not handed out freely. It must be paid for in blood and regret. The waves roared around me, their salty breath mixing with the stench of my past, bitter and unyielding. The price of my life had been set, and it was a debt I could not ignore. The night was moonless, cloaked in shadows. I stared at the raven, its beady eyes glistening with a knowledge I feared to grasp. A strip of pale leather hung from its beak, and I shuddered. Meister Wolken's face paled as he read the message. "The faceless men," he whispered, "an order of shadows that demand balance, not forgiveness." Could this be the end? I had fought for my redemption, given my fealty to House Stark, but it seemed, in the eyes of fate, debts were never fully paid. I rode alone, the wind howling my shame. The Weeping Tower loomed ahead, a ghost of my childhood, once a sanctuary, now a prison of regrets. I stepped inside, heart pounding, anticipating the reckoning. I offer gold, I offer truth, but what does it matter to you? I owe a life, and I intend to repay it. The assassin, cloaked and still, responds without emotion. The price is not silver, the price is pain repaid. Pain? I understood that currency well, but would it ever be enough? I refused to flee. Invoking the old laws of the Ironborn, I demanded a trial by combat. The air crackled with unshed rain and unspoken fears. Each strike felt like a knife through my past. Memories surged, of betrayal, of reek, of burning boys. This was not just a battle for my life, but for my soul. The ground shook as we clashed, steel singing against steel. Quick cuts show my resolve and the assassin's indifference. I am Theon of House Greyjoy, and I die a Stark. In that moment, the storm stilled, as if the world held its breath. Those words were more powerful than any blade I wielded. The assassin paused, weapon lowering, revealing a flicker of emotion. I wanted to see if you were truly worthy of peace. She had not come for vengeance, but for judgment. A reminder that redemption is not earned by the sword, but by confronting our past. I felt the weight of my sins lift, if only slightly. Had I truly won, or had I simply been spared? The line blurred, happiness felt foreign, but there was a glimmer of hope. The iron price, it seemed, had been repaid. If you held the weight of a life in your hands, would you seek redemption? What would you sacrifice to repay the sins of your past? In the shadow of death, I found life. The waves crashed around me, not as a harbinger of doom, but as a cleansing tide. Redemption is a long road, fraught with shadows, but I was finally ready to walk it. A long time ago, in the halls of Winterfell, I was a boy with dreams woven from legends. I wanted to be more than just a Greyjoy, I wanted to be a Stark. But ambition is a double-edged sword, and mine cut deep, severing my loyalties and igniting betrayal. My heart burned with the fire of the Iron Islands, but my soul was tethered to a family that was not my own. When I looked back on those days, I could almost hear the laughter echoing off the stone walls, feel the warmth of sunlight filtering through the trees. A time when my name was not a curse, and I was not a stranger in my own skin. But such warmth is fleeting, and soon shadows crept in, darkening those memories with guilt and regret. As I stood there in the ruins of the Dreadfort, I felt like a ghost walking among the living, an echo of who I once was, haunting the very place I thought I had escaped. Each crumbling stone whispered tales of betrayal, of loyalty traded for power. I had fought alongside those I once sought to destroy, yet I remained shackled by my past. The Raven Satter's call had shattered my fragile peace, reawakening the storm inside me. I had pledged my loyalty to Sansa Stark, had fought in the Battle of Winterfell, and yet here I was, facing the spectre of my choices. Nothing could erase the pain I had caused. Theon Greyjoy was an outcast in his own story, a man who had lost everything and was now left to reckon with the ghosts of his past. The Weeping Tower loomed ominously in the distance, a reminder of my past life. I could see it there, a dark silhouette against the waves, as if the tower itself was waiting for me to confront my demons. Each hoofbeat on the rocky path echoed my racing heart. Was I heading toward redemption or doom? The storm gathered above me, dark clouds swirling like the turmoil within. The assassin awaited, cloaked in silence and mystery. I felt the chill of the air creep into my bones, a prelude to the clash that would define my fate. Would my blood repay the debts of my past, or would I simply become another story lost to the winds? I stepped into the tower, and everything else faded away. The flickering candlelight illuminated the figure, shrouded in darkness, unyielding and emotionless. I had always imagined the face of death to be monstrous, but before me stood a spectre of calm, an embodiment of judgment. It felt surreal. I was not just fighting for my life, but for the very essence of who I was and who I wanted to be. "I offer gold," I began, desperation lacing my voice. "I offer truth." The words caught in my throat as I fought to contain the flood of regret surging within. What could I possibly offer that would suffice? The faceless one merely replied, "The price is not silver. The price is pain repaid." Pain. I understood that currency well. Every wound I bore, every scar etched upon my soul, told a story of suffering. But could it ever be enough? I had been a master of pain, both inflicting and enduring. Yet here, standing before this silent figure, I felt powerless. With a deep breath, I summoned the courage to refuse the easy way out. I demanded a trial by combat. The old laws of the Ironborn rang in my ears, a call to arms that echoed through my veins. This was my chance, a final shot at redemption, even if it was stained with blood. As the storm broke above, we clashed, steel screaming against steel in a deadly dance. Each strike was a reminder of my past choices, my betrayal of the Starks, the lies that had become my life, and the darkness that had consumed me. I felt like a butcher wielding my knife, each swing a desperate attempt to carve out my own salvation. In the chaos of the duel, I could see the faces of those I had wronged flash before my eyes. The boy I had burned, the friends I had betrayed, the family I had forsaken. But amidst the cacophony of memory, I stood firm, pushing against the tide of regret. "I am Theon of House Greyjoy," I whispered, my voice barely rising above the storm, "and I die a Stark." The moment hung heavy in the air, the storm pausing as if to grant me the weight of those words. The assassin faltered, their weapon hesitating, and in that instant, I felt the power of my identity surge through me. Then, shockingly, the figure lowered their weapon, reaching for their mask. My heart raced as they unveiled their face, revealing a girl I once saved from a slaver ship long ago. The recognition struck me harder than any blow. She had paid for my life with the coin, not in vengeance, but to test my soul. "I wanted to see if you were truly worthy of peace," she said, her voice echoing in the hollow space. And just like that, she vanished into the storm, leaving me battered yet breathless. I stood there, alone amid the wreckage of my past and the remnants of the duel, uncertain if I had won or merely been spared. The waves crashed around me, the tide a relentless reminder of the life I had once lived. But somewhere in the chaos, I felt a flicker of hope. In the shadow of death, I found life anew. The price of my past had been a harsh one, but perhaps not insurmountable. As the storm began to recede, I felt the weight of my burdens lighten, the shackles of my past loosening their grip. I could finally breathe. And as I faced the horizon, the sun began to break through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the ruins. The iron price, it seemed, had been repaid in full. Forgiveness is not given lightly. It is fought for with every ounce of our being. If you held the weight of a life in your hands, would you seek redemption? What would you sacrifice to repay the sins of your past? The journey of Theon Greyjoy may have been long and fraught with peril, but the heart of it is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As I stood there, battered yet unbroken, I knew my story was far from over. Life is a series of choices, each twisting our paths in ways we cannot foresee. I had chosen a path riddled with pain and loss, but at the end of that road, there was a glimpse of hope. I would no longer allow my past to define me. I would carve a new destiny, not just for myself, but for all those I had wronged. Redemption is a powerful force, one that can shake the very foundations of our being. It calls us to confront our darkest fears, to embrace the pain of our choices, and to rise above the ashes of our mistakes. And in that crucible of suffering, we find strength, purpose, and ultimately peace. So as I walk forward into a new dawn, I do so with the knowledge that my journey has just begun. The waves whisper tales of bygone days, but they cannot erase the lessons learned. I am Theon Greyjoy, not just a man marked by his past, but one ready to forge a future. In the shadow of death, I found life. And if this story resonates within you, subscribe for more tales of struggle, redemption, and the unyielding human spirit. Every life has a price, and each story is worth telling. The journey towards redemption is never straightforward. It twists and turns through the dark alleys of regret and shame, forcing us to confront the demons we often wish to keep buried. For me, the face of my past was not just an abstract concept, it was a tangible figure that haunted my dreams and lurked in the corners of my mind. The girl I had saved became a symbol, a reminder that the choices we make ripple through time, altering lives in ways we cannot fathom. As I stood at the Weeping Tower, I realized that my story was far from over. The waves crashed violently against the rock, their relentless rhythm echoing the heartbeat of my past. I could hear the whispers of those who had suffered because of my actions. I had betrayed the Starks, allied with enemies, and in my quest for power, I had lost everything that mattered. But with each crash of the waves, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me, a promise of renewal. In the days that followed, I wandered the remnants of the Dreadfort, each step a reminder of the life I had lived and the life I wished to reclaim. I found solace in the quiet halls, in the stillness where echoes of laughter and joy once resided. The ghosts of my past lingered, but rather than torment me, they served as a guiding force. They were my reminders, my teachers. I thought of Sansa Stark, the girl who had endured so much, and yet remained steadfast in her resolve. She had offered me a chance at redemption when she accepted my help during the escape from Winterfell. I had sworn my fealty to her, but in my heart I knew it was not enough. I needed to do more, to prove that I was not the coward I once was. Every morning, I would rise before dawn, taking to the treacherous cliffs that overlooked the sea. The crashing waves below mirrored the tempest within me. Each wave that broke against the rocks felt like a cleansing of my soul, washing away the remnants of my guilt and shame. I would stand there for hours, feeling the salt spray on my skin, letting the wind whip through my hair as if the world itself conspired to free me from the shackles of my past. The villagers who remained in the shadow of the Dreadfort began to notice my transformation. They had witnessed my fall from grace, and now they watched as I sought to rise again. I approached them with humility, offering help wherever I could. I repaired roofs, helped with the harvest, and listened to their stories. Slowly, they began to warm to me, their mistrust melting away. I was no longer Theon Greyjoy, the Turncloak. I was simply Theon, a man trying to find his way back home. But the shadows of my past were not easily vanquished. Rumors began to spread of my connection to the Faceless Men, whispers that reached the ears of those who remembered my treachery. In their eyes, I was still that lost boy who had betrayed his own blood. Each glance cast in my direction felt like a dagger, reminding me of my failures. And yet, I refused to let it deter me. I had chosen this path, and I would walk it until the end, no matter how steep the climb. As the seasons changed and the leaves turned from green to gold, I found myself at the precipice of a new beginning. The remnants of Winterfell lay in ruins, but the spirit of House Stark lived on in those who had survived. I sought out those who had been loyal to the North, listening to their tales of courage and sacrifice. I discovered that there were many who had also fought against the darkness, who had lost everything, yet continued to stand firm. Their resilience inspired me to push further, to seek not just forgiveness, but also acceptance. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, I gathered with a group of villagers around a flickering fire. They spoke of the days gone by, of laughter shared and losses endured. It was a moment of connection, a reminder that we are all woven into the tapestry of life, our stories interconnected. Someone turned to me then, a young man with a scar on his cheek, and asked, "What has changed in you, Theon? Why do you fight so hard for redemption?" In that moment, I felt the weight of their eyes upon me. all seeking an answer. I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the truth of my journey. I fight for the sake of those I have wronged, for the lives I disrupted. I have learned that redemption is not a destination, but a journey, a path marked by the choices we make every day. I want to be worthy of the life I have left. Their silence held my truth, and slowly, one by one, they nodded in understanding. In their eyes, I saw the flicker of a new beginning. But I knew that my journey was still far from complete. The shadows of the faceless men still loomed, a constant reminder that my past could come back to haunt me at any moment. I had faced my trial by combat, but I needed to prove that I could face the trials of life as well. It was not enough to seek forgiveness. I needed to earn it through my actions. The winds of change began to blow through the north, whispers of a new threat emerging on the horizon. The realm was shifting, and with it, the dangers that had once seemed distant began to creep closer. I knew that if I were to truly find redemption, I would need to stand beside those I had once betrayed. As the months rolled on, I prepared myself for what lay ahead. I trained in the art of combat once more, not for the sake of power, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. I reached out to my former allies, those who still believed in the strength of House Stark, and I sought their counsel. Together, we forged a plan to confront the darkness that threatened our lands. With each passing day, I felt the shackles of my past loosening their grip. The scars of my betrayal still lingered, but they no longer defined me. I had forged a new identity, one of courage, resilience, and hope. I stood not just as Theon Greyjoy, but as a man who had faced his demons and emerged, still standing. As I prepared for the new challenges that lay ahead, I felt a sense of purpose welling within me. A flame ignited from the ashes of my past. I had learned that redemption is not a solitary journey, it is a collective effort, a bond forged through shared experiences and mutual understanding. And as the sun rose on the horizon, casting light upon the land, I felt ready to face whatever awaited me. Ready to prove that I was worthy of my second chance. My journey has taught me that every life has its price, and within that price lies the essence of our humanity. The road to redemption may be fraught with challenges, but it is one worth traveling. If this journey resonates with you, if you too seek redemption in your life, join me. Subscribe for more tales of struggle, resilience, and the unyielding quest for forgiveness. Together, we can explore the depths of our stories and rise above the shadows of our past. Every life has a story worth telling, and together we can find the strength to share ours.